preparing for a job interview, there's four different things, the four P's as I like to call them, that are important for you to keep in mind. They are preparation, professionalism, positivity, and persistence. And I'll begin at the beginning with preparation. Before we ever even get to a job interview, the best thing to do is to have prepared research ahead of time on that particular company. At the very least, you should know what it is that the company does, what services do they provide, what products do they make. You should have a pretty good feel for the particular department that you are interviewing for, know the ins and outs of that one as much as you can. And the best way to do this is to visit a company's website. Nowadays, a lot of them have Facebook pages where they update you on things that are going on. And it's really important, it's almost expected nowadays, that whenever you come in there, you have a pretty good working knowledge of the company. And this is a really good thing to do. Not only does it show that you're interested in the company, but it also shows initiative. And it's an excellent way for you to start to envision yourself in that company and what it is you can do for that company. Going along with the preparation, too, are some other things. Most importantly, beyond the research of the company, is knowing the job description, knowing the ins and outs of what it is, the position you're being interviewed for, what's the most important parts of it, what are the qualifications, what kind of educational background, experience, those types of things. What are they looking for? And do you have it? If you do, then that'll make it that much easier when it comes time to prepare answers to pretty standard but sometimes tough job interview questions. But it is a good idea to know everything you can about the particular job you're applying for and that you're being interviewed for. So make sure that you know that. Not just so that you can possibly get the job, but also it'll give you a good idea of whether or not you would like to work there, whether or not it's something that you could, a place that you could thrive. Along with preparation, too, is some just logistical things that sometimes people overlook, and it can tend to get them into trouble. The main thing is, one, you know exactly the time and the date and the location of the actual interview. Right? This seems like a small thing, but it's easy to overlook. You want to make sure that you know exactly where it is. If at all possible, not only get directions, but if you can, drive there too to make sure, to see how long it takes to get there, to see if there's possible traffic problems that could occur on the way there. Anything that could prohibit you from getting there on time and therefore possibly affecting whether or not you got the job. Right? Again, these are small things, but they are important, and they're all part of that preparation. And for me, preparation is the key to success in any type of business setting, in any type of job, really. So the preparation is important. Going along with that, too, the night before, make sure that you get a pretty good night's sleep. Make sure that you eat something before you in there. That way you're not have a howling stomach or you're not distracted by other things that could crop up. Because again, you want to set yourself up for success when you go in there to that interview. Along with that preparation too, it's probably a good idea to have some specific examples of past experiences that you have, past achievements or triumphs you've had, and find a way to work that into the interview. Whenever they ask you questions about, and inevitably they will, they'll ask you a question about what's your greatest strength, your greatest weakness, you can go straight into that and use those past examples, that past experience, as a way of talking in specifics as to your qualifications. So that's a good thing to do. Other than preparation, the second thing is professionalism. Now, obviously, whenever you go on a job interview, you want to make sure you dress fairly well. And depending on the job that you're going for, if ever you're in doubt as to how you should dress, you should always overdress, meaning tie, jacket too, probably, suit. For ladies, conservative pantsuit, conservative jacket, right? Neutral colors. Right? We don't want to, of course, we all have individual, unique personalities. We have our own fashion style, but when you're going on a job interview, that's not the place to really have your true personality shine through. You want to have a more conservative image, and that's going to sort of blend in with the place that you might work. So keep that in mind. right? As far as professionalism goes, this also applies to how you carry yourself. Right? First impressions are big, obviously. So whenever you first walk into the interview, even whenever you first walk into the lobby, if you're greeted by HR or some other place, you want to be smiling, right? You want to have a good posture. You're sitting up straight. You're standing up straight. And most importantly, whenever you actually get in and you meet the interviewer or the interviewers, plural, make sure that you shake hands, you make good eye contact, and that you project positivity, right? And again, it's all part of this professional image that you're trying to create, right? And part of that goes towards the things I mentioned before about preparation and making sure you look good ahead of time, right? Professionalism also deals with the type of questions that they ask you. And sometimes there are some tough interview questions. For instance, one that could possibly trip some of us up could be describe a past failure, or explain what you disliked about your previous job. Now, whenever they have these types of questions, it's very easy to veer into negative answers. But you still want to find something positive to say about those experiences. And you never want to put a bad taste in the interviewer's mouth by going on about how a manager or a supervisor or a boss was a tyrant, or they did this wrong or they did that wrong, because whenever you start to answer those questions that way, in a negative way, they associate you with negativity. Which leads me into my third P, which is positivity. Whatever the question is, right? Even if it's a potentially dangerous question, like one of the ones that I just mentioned, you can always frame your answers in a positive way. I'll give you an example. Inevitably, they will ask you, what is your greatest weakness? Right? We've all heard this question, and some of us kind of fear it whenever it comes up. But there is a way to answer this honestly and also positively. Okay? Again, working on creating that professional image. So whenever they ask you what's your greatest weakness, the first thing you want to do is avoid negative language. So instead of saying my biggest weakness is this, start by saying my biggest challenge has been, for instance, punctuality. Okay? So one, you identify that you did have a weakness, but we call it a challenge, okay? Because it's more of a positive word. But it's not enough just to identify one of those. You need to show how not only did you identify that it was a challenge, but how you took steps to make it a strength. Okay? So again, my biggest challenge is my punctuality. However, whenever I realized that sometimes I was late to appointments or things like that, I bought a PDA and I put all my appointments in there, and it has an alarm and a timer on it, and now I'm always on time to appointments ahead of time even. Right? So again, you see how we can take something that is potentially what they would call a weakness, and we turn it into a strength. And again, it reflects positively on you. It also demonstrates your problem-solving skills, something that all employers are looking for. And which leads me to my last P, which is persistence. Persistence obviously is a big part of the job market nowadays because the economy is getting kind of rough. You have to send out more and more applications, more and more resumes, so you have to be persistent in that manner. However, when you're actually on a job interview, you've actually got your foot in the door, you need to be persistent at that time as well. Meaning, you want to take every opportunity that they give you with the questions to highlight something specific about your work history, your educational history, something that's going to translate directly to you being an asset for that company, right? Which is where some preparation ahead of time is going to help, right? Help having answers to tough questions written out ahead of time, work on practicing those with someone you trust, what we call mock interviews. All of those things are going to help you, and you need to be persistent. Take every opportunity that they give you during the course of an interview to highlight something specific that's positive and that's going to directly translate to you being a good employee, and ultimately that's going to help you get that job that you want and be a top-notch interviewer. So I hope these things help. I am going to post a few other things for this particular course, English 155, where I pose tough job interview questions and good responses to them. Right? So again, remember the 4 P's: preparation, professionalism, positivity, and persistence.